Hello everyone, this is C05 and welcome to the Copico Mass Central Toy Review. And today's toy review, we'll be looking at the 2010 release by Hasbro of the Spider Man Fiercest Foes action figure review. And today's action figure review, we'll be looking at the Power Charge Rhino. Now, I picked this figure up from a Toy Us department store for 39 ringgit and 90 cents. Strangely enough, a lot of Toy Us department stores don't even carry this toy line itself. Only one Toy Us department store, which I found in Bangsa Village, that actually carried this figure. Now, the reason I picked this figure up is because it seemed to be compatible to your Marvel Universe action figures, especially when this toy line itself has a few Spider-Man action figures that actually uses the same mold from the Marvel Universe line. Now, at the front part of the packaging, you've got the Rhino showing in the front there, and he's actually very detailed stuff. Now, at the back itself, according to what the top part of the packaging says, includes 3 Fiercest Foes battle cards, which is situated at the back of the figure itself. We'll check it out later. At the back of the packaging itself, you've got a nice little image of Rhino, or Power Charge Rhino. Apparently, for this toy line itself, it's supposed to aim for kids, and a lot of the figures that came along for this toy line itself came with gimmicks, as shown at the bottom part here. You see all the Spider-Man figures, each of them comes with some sort of a gimmick, launching web and whatsoever. And here we have help Spider-Man battle his fiercest foes. You actually play around with the cards itself. So, without further ado, let's open up this packaging so we can molest the toy. Be right back. And we're back after removing the figure and the rest of the stuff out from packaging. Now let's take a look at the fiercest battle cards. You're given these 2 cards, and each card represents one character, the villainous Rhino and the heroic Spider-Man. Flip side of the cards itself shows a nice little artwork of Spider-Man with tentacles going up against Rhino. And each card represents one character as well, because it's stated at the bottom part of the card. This one says Rhino, the other one says Spider-Man. Now, on the sides of the cards itself, you notice there's a bomb icon, the punching icon, and the spider sense icon. Next to the icons itself, you have these hidden numbers, which I'll explain later. According to the instruction manual, the whole game itself is basically like a rock, paper and scissors game. So each opponent must choose one icon facing upwards without showing the icon to the other opponent, of course. So once you've chosen the icon, you count to 3 and then place it onto the table facing something like this to show what icon that you have chosen. And each icon defeats one other icon. Here in the instruction manual it's stated the bomb defeats the spider sense icon, the spider sense icon defeats the punch icon beats the bomb icon. But what happens if both icons is the same power? Then you have to use this revealer, the spider sense revealer. You notice there's a red translucent clear plastic shown here. Then you use the cards. Let's say both cards have chosen the punch icon. Let's take a look at Spidey's. Here we see the number 4 is being shown at the card itself. That's Spidey's power. For Rhino is number 5 instead. Not too sure if you guys can actually see it. There it is. So the highest number beats the lowest number, and that's how you play the game. Now let's take a look at the figure's accessories. It does come with accessories, the armor parts. The armor parts is actually easily detachable from the figure itself, and it's very loose when you apply it onto the figure itself, because there's tiny little pegs on the sides of the armor itself, and there's no holes on the figure for you to place the armor onto the body itself. So it tends to fall off really easily. So I tend to not to put the armor parts onto the figure, because without the armor parts it still looks great. Now let's take a look at the paint job of the figure itself. The majority of the body's paint job is quite simplistic, except for the front part of the body itself. The chest here is slightly more painted, and the face is nicely painted with the eyes being shown, nice little flesh tone colors, and the mouth open apart to show the upper row of the teeth and the bottom row of the teeth, which is also individually painted for each tooth. On the sides of the Rhino's mask, you've got the eyes itself, which is also lightly painted in sort of like a really dull red. The horns is also painted. It's very nicely done. And the entire sculpt is absolutely amazing. I'm quite surprised that this toy is meant for 4-year-olds, because look at the amount of details on this figure itself. From part of the chest itself, you notice there's a lot of muscular sculpt going on in the front part of the body. There's a lot of veins popping. Even the rhino armor is very nicely detailed. Look at all the bumps there. Very nice. The face itself is also quite detailed. Also at the side of the mask itself, the rhino mask, very nicely done. And on the back of the figure, it's also quite detailed. You notice the spinal cord going all the way to the bottom of his butt. Really nice. Bottom part of the feet itself is nothing special. It's just flat out. Now, for articulation, it's quite limiting, but it's not that bad. The head can actually turn 360 degrees, which is kind of hilarious, and can pivot upwards and go straight down like so. The shoulder can turn 360 degrees and go all the way up like so. It has a swivel upper bicep, which is kind of surprising. There's a joint at the elbow that bends this far and turns 360 degrees. There's no wrist articulation, which is still alright. There's no torso articulation or waist articulation as well. Now the hip joint is actually a ball joint that the pegs is pegged sort of like in this angular position, but it's still alright. At least it's not pegged upwards. So you can actually twist this ball joint to whatever position that you want and then bend the legs this far. There's also a swivel tie that goes 360 degrees. There's no knee articulation, there's no ankle articulation. So yes, this figure is quite limited with the articulation, but it's really, really nice. It's very, very detailed action figure. Now let's do a size comparison with a Marvel Universe Spider-Man. Look at the size of it. Very nicely done. It's compatible with the Marvel Universe action figures. And I have the Hulkbuster figure. And notice the size comparison. Now overall, this figure itself for 39 ringgit and 90 cents is actually not bad, except for the armor parts and the lack of articulation, but it is actually very detailed stuff and have some decent articulation, which I actually don't mind, despite that it doesn't have a knee articulation and an ankle articulation or a torso articulation. So this figure is actually very nicely done. Marvel Universe action figures doesn't even come with a Rhino figure, so you can have this as an alternative. So if I want to give a rating out of this, I'll just give him a 8 out of 10. He is actually that good. A bit with the lacking of the articulation and the stupid armor parts that keep on popping off from his body the moment you attach it. Other than that, he's a perfect size for a Marvel Universe figure. And if you want a Rhino figure for your Spider-Man figure from the Marvel Universe line, this makes a great alternative. So 8 out of 10. So I thank you all for watching. This is Lucy05 and I'm signing off.